And welcome to the first edition of Chef's Kitchen. My assistant today, by a great deal of persuasion, is Dick Pither.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Welcome
Good to see you. This is terrific.
This is
a
terrific.
Great looking kitchen you got here.
Yes, it is, and we hope that it's going to be very informative, because this is the portion of the program where we're going to present information about A.B. Dick products and supply items.
Across all product lines.
Absolutely.
We happen to be starting today, I think, with
something
Paper
very
Masters.
simple and very easy to understand.
But then we're going to go into AOS products and all kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Right? So everybody can be...
First of all, you've got to have an apron.
Of course I do. This wouldn't be official without an official apron. Oh, this is terrific. This is not third class, is it?
No, this
Second
is
class,
this,
maybe?
well, we'll see. Anyway,
so we're going to be talking about Paper Masters and that kind of thing.
We're going to be talking about Paper Masters.
You're going to cook up some master material for me here?
Everything you ever wanted to know about Paper Masters.
Okay.
Now, just as you would when you went to cook something for you and your wife, you would want to have a recipe book or
Start with a cookbook, right.
We have our own very special book, our A.B. Dick OPT offset.
I was wondering when you'd get to this. Yes, indeed. Our cookbook for this entire series will be primarily the OPT materials. This time, obviously, the offset OPT book under plate making and plate making supplies. That's what we're going to be talking about today.
You got it.
Outstanding.
Right there.
What else? You guys see
one little extra book here we'd like everybody to read, whether you're involved in supplies or you're involved in sales. It's the Pocket Pal from the International Paper Company.
This is a terrific little book. I know, I've read it. This is also inside the OPT kit for offset.
Absolutely. In every OPT kit.
Right. So,
did you read that?
Yeah.
Do you remember anything at all from it?
Of course. I remember exactly what you're about to tell me today.
Really?
Yeah. So let's get to it. Let's cook.
All right.
Let's cook.
Now, you know that to produce an image on an offset duplicator, we need to have an image carrier, something to carry the image from the original onto the actual copies that we're going to reproduce.
Sure.
That's an image carrier or a master or a plate.
As opposed to like a copier.
Right.
Where you don't have an image carrier. It goes directly from the original to the copy. So in the offset process, of course, we need an image carrier, and that's what we're going to talk about here.
That's attached to the master cylinder, and the image is then transferred to the blanket and then transferred to the paper.
Right.
So we have a variety of ways of producing that master, that carrier.
Okay.
Okay. If you want the most durable and the longest type of run length, you're going to talk about a metal plate.
All right. The longest, the most durable, the most expensive way to get an image, of course, would be the metal plate.
Metal plate. Okay. And we will talk about that in future programs and talk about how you go about producing a metal plate.
Okay. I think everybody knows what a metal plate is. And
I hope so.
We'll get into that in some depth. Okay. What else do you have?
We have then next down the line in quality and durability and length of run and all those things, and of course in price, a photomat plate.
Photomat.
Photomat.
All right, so this is, again...
You remember the word photomat?
I do remember the word photomat. You can't say Verilith.
Only if you talk about Eastman Kodak, because that's their trade name.
It is a registered trademark of Eastman Kodak, but our registered trademark is Photomat.
Photomat.
Okay, so this is also, again, a paper master, which is one step down from the metal plate in terms of quality, length of run, and that kind of thing.
You got it.
You can make these on like a 145.
145, 155, and we're going to talk about those and how you produce those in future programs.
Okay. Okay.
Now going down a little bit farther, we have the electrostatic or E-stat.
This is a very familiar thing to me, which is imaged again on a master maker. All of these are made somehow by machine, in one way or another.
And you need one of those to make a master, a paper master, or 143 or 153 or 163. And we'll talk again about those and how you produce those. But the simplest, the easiest to work with, and the one that requires the least amount of other equipment or auxiliary equipment to produce a master is, of course, direct image.
Direct image. Okay, so this is the fourth type.
The fourth
type. What you're saying.
Now, this is, you're looking at the back of it here.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Okay. So this looks to me like a piece of paper.
It is, and that's exactly what it is.
Okay. So this is the kind of master that we're going to be talking about today.
Right.
As opposed to in future sessions, the E-stat flat, the photomat, and the metal.
Right.
Okay.
Now, you have three types of paper plates here, and I want to make that distinction, that these are generally called paper masters.
These are paper masters.
These are paper masters.
Okay, I've got to keep the theme going here, otherwise this turns into an offset training program. No. Okay, so you've got three paper masters and one metal...
One metal plate.
Plate. Difference.
Yes. Generally, that's how you distinguish. Metal is generally a plate, and the other, the paper type, are masters.
Okay, so
because
that's
they're
an
easier to
interesting
produce.
point to make, yes. Okay, well now, can I get these out of the way? And then
yes, you
we're going to be
out of the way.
talking about your basic direct image now.
Direct
image. Now, tell me about the direct image master, as opposed, I'm not calling you master, I'm calling you direct image versus plate.
Well, what would you like to know about it?
Well, first of all, I guess I would like to know, do they in fact come in different lengths of run, or are they, you know... Oh, my God, I asked that question.
A variety of sizes, shapes, and colors. No,
okay.
A variety of configurations. They come in the straight edge. Here, you notice the straight edge for the straight edge clamp on the cylinder.
All right.
Which would be the kind of a cylinder that is a dual type of clamp, straight edge and pin bar.
Okay, now maybe we better talk about that before we talk about length of run. What you're saying to me here that we can see on the table is that one comes without any holes in it at all, and that would be then the way you would insert it into a duplicator with the type clamp that just comes up out of the cylinder.
Opens up like a hinge.
All right, like Jaws, so to speak. Sorry. And the other one is you're calling a pin bar.
Pin bar, yes.
Which is a series of holes across the top and the bottom.
And this is typical of the AB Dick offset cylinders.
Okay.
This type of configuration.
Where those little teeth come out, and then you attach it that way.
You draw great word pictures.
I do,
there.
don't I? Yes.
You could put hooks on some of those.
Okay.
Yes.
Now you have a third type here.
The third type is the slotted clamp, which is typical of the competitive type of duplicators.
Okay, so that differs only in the fact that this will take many different types of clamps as opposed to just our pin bar. So we can use this one on our products as well as any competitive types.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so basically then you've got three types of direct image masters: straight edge, pin bar, and the slotted.
And of course there are a variety of other ones. We can have ones that are punched on the side as opposed to punched on the top here. Continuous forms made for imaging on special type of duplicator.
What would some of the applications be for this when it's in
Well, this is like for a jet ink printer or for something like that. They are continuous masters. As you notice, they are perfed and...
Yes, so like continuous forms paper on a word processing system.
Absolutely.
Which would allow you to do some specialized type of applications.
Right.
Okay.
Now, you notice if you turn these over that we have different colors on the back. And the color...
All right, now these happen to be all green.
Green.
Or aqua.
Aqua.
As we say.
Whatever.
All right. What does that mean?
Never too good with colors myself.
No, well, that's all right. You'll pick it up. What does this green color mean?
That means that it has a different run length from this one, which is supposed to be pink, and this one, which is supposed to be gold or yellow.
All right, so now we see three different colors, and what do they represent in terms of...
That will indicate to the user the length of run that one can expect from this. Now, the length of run, the pink being the thinnest type of paper and the shortest run length. Also the most economical. That's a guaranteed run length of 200 copies.
200 copies. Okay, so pink and very thin. You can almost actually see through this. And that means that why is it thin versus 200 length of run?
Well, it's thin for economical reasons.
Yes.
We want to keep it economical. We want to make it available to people who want to buy and reproduce copies economically on an offset duplicator. Okay. Who want to reproduce copies in small amounts.
All right.
So you have this one, which has a guaranteed run length of 200.
Is it fair to say that the thinner the master material, the shorter the length of run, because the plate then begins to deteriorate after X amount of copies?
Is that
the idea?
You got it.
So therefore these would be, and they are, I can feel that, these are thicker. This one is the green, and this is what, 500 copies?
500 copies.
Okay, so you can tell by that, the color of the back, how many copies, how many length of run copies that you've got there. And then of course these, which are very thick indeed, are what, about 1,500 or so?
Those are 1,500.
Okay.
Guaranteed for 1,500.
All right, so the color. Now what's the series number for these?
This is the 2-3000, 4000, 5000, whatever.
Okay, what does the 2000, 3000, 4000 mean?
The pink is the 2-5000 series, and the 5050, the first two digits, determine the series it is, or the length of run.
Yes.
The last two digits, like this is 5024, that means it is a particular size with pin bar. So the way you find out which one fits your particular duplicator is to look in the price list.
Okay.
And see 5024, 5025, or whatever it
So
might
it'll
be.
give you length of run, it'll give you pin bar, straight edge, or slotted.
Absolutely.
And anything else? No, that's about it.
That's
okay.
it.
All right.
Now this one is 2-4000. Okay?
And?
2-4000 means it has a longer run length than the 5000 series, 2-5000. This is now the 500 copy run length.
Okay.
So again, the first two digits indicate the
where it
length
is
of
on
run.
that scale, right.
And the last two digits indicate the size and the configuration.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
And then this is 2-3000 series.
Okay, so this is the 1500 run length.
Right.
That's really neat.
Now, people who have been with us for a long time may remember that we had 2-6000 series and 2-3000 series. Now we only have one kind anymore, the 2- series.
That's it.
We had a 6- series and a 2- series.
And now it's just down to the 2- series.
Just down to two. We're broadening the line to include more of the products that were incorporated in the 6- series, but now it will be just one kind.
Okay. Well, that makes it a little easier, doesn't it?
It does.
In terms of ordering and knowing what you've got in your line.
As well as making them compatible with our own ABDIC duplicators, they are also compatible with all the competitive duplicators on the market that run direct image type of masters.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know.
So now it's all combined into one line. The only thing that you have to remember is that this particular series uses the green etch. People may have been using the 6- series, and with that they were using blue etch.
Ah, okay. So that's a significant change that everybody should know about.
Right.
With the new complete line of 2- series, you use the green etch only, no more blue.
No more blue.
Okay, for direct image only.
For direct image only.
Okay, and that's
this is
number.
This would be used full strength, 4-1034 in quarts, 4-1035 in gallons.
Okay, all right, good.
All right.
That's good to know.
So we're talking about using them on the duplicator. You must use the green etch, but we didn't talk about imaging them yet.
No, we haven't. That would be logically my next question.
Okay.
How do I get an image onto the front of a direct image master?
Very simple and very easy. Take one of these pencils here and you can image it with a pencil.
Now, is this a special kind of pencil?
Special kind of offset reproducing pencil produced by ABDIC.
Has something in the lead?
Some special component in the lead. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't know.
Well, but I'm saying that you can't use a regular pencil.
That's correct.
It
You
will not
cannot use a regular
Okay,
pencil.
so you've got to have an offset pencil of some sort, ABDIC or whatever.
We make offset pencils in medium and in hard, and also we make offset reproducing pens.
Pen, okay, so like a ballpoint pen also?
Right.
What are other ways of doing that? Can I do it on a typewriter, for instance?
Typewriter, any of the modern typewriters with a, except some of the ones with a lift-off self-correcting feature, but any of the other types of ribbons. And at one time we manufactured and sold a line of ribbons. I don't believe we manufactured them, we sold them. We no longer do that because ribbons are so readily available.
Yeah. So I can just take this direct image master and put it into a typewriter. I can write on it with a special pencil or a pen.
Or you can put it in a bond copier.
You can.
Right.
Okay, so that would then say that I could, with like a sheet bypass, image it right off of a paste-up original. Okay, a very flexible way to get offset masters quickly, obviously.
Absolutely. Now also, these may be pre-printed on an offset duplicator. Let's say, for example, that you're doing form work and you have created a metal plate for forms. You can pre-print your direct image masters and store them for future use, where the information would then be filled in with a typewriter or by hand.
Okay, so in other words, what you're saying is that from an application standpoint and from a flexibility standpoint as far as selling supplies such as direct image masters, that these little babies can just about do any kind of system that a customer might need in terms of forms or in terms of any kinds of applications, as long as the run lengths fit in with the basic specifications.
Right, absolutely, you got it. Now, lots of people people forget that this is a very important part of our business and also a very profitable part of the business right now.
Yes.
Some of the newer people coming in see some of the more sophisticated devices for producing masters, and they see electrostatic master makers, and they see the photomat process, and they see metal plates. They forget about the direct image, and they forget that we have this and that it's a very, we have one of the broadest lines in direct image masters.
So for that reason, it should be something that it's a good moneymaker for everybody.
Absolutely. They also forget that we make them for special applications, including MICR and including all kinds of sophisticated imaging devices. We even do special orders.
Wow. Wow.
So
who would we contact? Who would they contact out there in Niles to find out about the special applications, if they have any in their territories?
They would contact our friend Chuck Moose in marketing.
Okay, so Chuck Moose is the man to talk to over there. All right, well, basically then I can just write on these and say something like Chef's Corner. Simply image it like that.
What's your favorite recipe? You
huh? Well, we'll put on there an etch quiche.
An etch quiche?
Yeah, okay.
That'll be a
1/4
winner.
etch, and of course one quiche. Quiche. All right. Hey, you throw that in an oven about 7,500 degrees, like this, and bingo, it's ready to go.
You got it.
Okay. Okay, so direct image masters, very versatile, very flexible. We're going to talk about in future sessions ESTAT plates. We're going to talk about, well, ESTAT masters, I'm sorry.
Yes, you
didn't get that right.
ESTAT masters.
Photomat and also metal plates. But what about the other product lines?
Well, some of the other product lines, we have some of the items over here, and I'd like you to try one of these. These just come right out of the oven here.
That tastes like a print wheel.
It is a print wheel. And that kind of gives you a hint that we'll be talking about AOS products and how their supplies fit into the marketplace and the things you ought to know that are very important about AOS products.
Terrific.
That's about it for this time on Chef's Kitchen, and we hope you'll come back and join us next time. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Thanks, Kev. Hi, welcome to our second edition of Chef's Corner. I'm Dick Pither, and this is our world-renowned chef, Kevin Lavin. And today,
Hello.
Kevin, in our second series on plates and masters, what are we going to be talking about?
Today we're going to talk about electrostatic masters.
Electrostatic masters.
Yes. Remember last time we talked about direct image. I hope you remember some of the things we talked about.
Our last Insight program taught me very well.
Good.
And I do remember most of that, maybe 99%. Right. Today, however, we are going to add another touch of realism.
Don't get so close. The camera people get excited when you get too close.
All right. Yeah. Here we have some of the ingredients that we're going to be talking about today. We have some beautiful, very nice salami, some lettuce, crisp as it may be.
You better hurry up, it'll wilt under the lights.
Some bread, and of course the famous, what do we call this? Mayonnaise.
Yes,
right.
Indeed.
Now, what could this possibly have to do with electrostatic plates?
Nothing that I can think of, so why don't you take it out of here and let's get on with the show.
Well, maybe we can use it a little bit later, but again, this is a chef's program, so we had to touch on food somehow.
Absolutely.
Fair enough?
Yes.
Let's get into electrostatic masters in depth here, in the meat, quote unquote, of the program.
Yes.
What's the first thing we have to do?
First thing I have to do is to tell you that there is such a thing as electrostatic material.
Aha.
Electrostatic masters.
Yes.
Now, if you look at that, you'll see that it's very close to the material we examined on the last edition.
Yes, it is.
Very close to a direct image master.
Looks a lot like it.
It operates a little differently.
All right, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how it really operates and why is it different and what makes it work.
Okay. For questions beyond what we have here and what we will answer and cover, if people in the field had some other questions, where would they go? What are our cookbooks?
Well, I could tell them where to go, but I'm not going to.
You're not going
to.
You're going to tell us.
We have a cookbook.
Okay.
Our cookbook, which is, of course, our OPT offset book.
The OPT offset book, the one that we referenced in the last program.
Yes.
On Insight, and that has the section again on plate making, to which everyone should go with the questions that they have, because we, again, based most of what we're doing here around the OPT program.
Right.
Okay.
And just as in any fine cookbook, if I were to take this cookbook and tell you to read it, it would not make you a gourmet cook.
No.
Neither will this make you an expert at electrostatic masters.
No.
I want you to try these ideas out and try the recipes, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So take the information that we give you on video and take the information that's contained in the book and try them out. You actually have to try these recipes, try them on the equipment, and experiment a little bit to get the best results.
Okay, so get your hands on them to the best degree possible.
Right.
We have a second edition of the cookbook?
Second edition, and this is the A.B. Dick Salesperson Supplies Handbook. Now, this will give you all the details about the product numbers and so on.
Okay, inside
and
here.
it will give you the recommended supplies to use with each product number as we go along.
Right. This is the offset section, and this is in every branch and should be in every branch and distributor.
Absolutely.
Why don't you take that and mop your forehead?
It gets awfully warm in here, you know?
Well, it's these ovens that we've got going here.
Yes.
All right, well, let's
We've
talk
got to go to microwave.
Let's talk about electrostatic right now.
Yes.
Where do we start?
Electrostatic material is different. It is basically a paper master as a direct image is, and basically about the same thickness and the same strength. But how we manufacture it is what makes it different and what makes it operate differently. And I'll give you a brief illustration.
Please do.
Now,
what have we here?
If you were to look at this chart here, this will show you that the base stock, which you saw here on the counter, is this particular part here.
Okay.
But we do something to the base stock to give it strength and to give it a length of run.
Okay.
That is, we put a barrier coat on each side of it.
Oh, I see.
So this is like sealing it with a sealant to prevent it from stretching.
Or tearing apart, that kind of thing prematurely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, to make it work and to make it a master, we put a zinc oxide coating on the top surface.
Now that's what gives it the properties of photosensitivity and that kind of thing.
Something like that.
Okay, we're going to get into
We
that.
add something else to the zinc oxide, which I didn't show here, and that is called a sensitizing dye.
Okay.
Now that gives the material a property of speed, much like photographic film has. So different amounts of photosensitizing dye give it different speeds, exposure speeds, when it goes into a machine.
Okay.
So, for example, we have one speed for a 163, 171, and then we have a different speed for a 155.
Okay. All right, I see. So in other words, what you're saying is this is an enlargement of this electrostatic master.
Yes.
And contained in this tiny piece of paper, very thin, is all of this material.
Exactly.
You know, this makes me want to make a sandwich.
It makes you want to make a sandwich.
Yeah, would you hold that for a second?
Okay, I'll go make a sandwich.
See how much you taught me here. Because again, this is a chef show, is it not?
Absolutely.
It
You're
reminds
determined
me,
to get that sandwich in.
I am, because if you took a basic piece of salami like this and called it your base stock, as you said,
Yes.
all right, this would be the ingredient to make a sandwich out of, you couldn't eat this as a sandwich right now. Why? Because it would stretch, it would fall apart, it would be real flimsy.
And it would stick to your fingers, too.
It would stick to your fingers. So what do? We put a barrier around the actual meat of the sandwich, which is represented here by this piece of bread. A barrier on the bottom, the base stock, as you showed me, and a barrier on top. Now, some people like their electrostatic masters with lettuce, but that's, you know, all to taste. So basically now you've got the three parts of your master, and now you're saying to me is that we put zinc oxide
on the top,
which we will let be represented here by the Mayo, if you will, and you then spread the zinc oxide on the top of that master, like this. And then...
Don't you usually put that on the inside?
Well, some people do, but for our show,
kind of a messy
leave
sandwich.
It this way. It is kind of a messy sandwich, but nevertheless, that's basically what you had in mind. That's exactly what you're trying to tell me.
Absolutely.
That this electrostatic master is made like. It's like a sandwich.
Like a sandwich.
Good way to remember.
Absolutely.
Base stock, covered by barrier, and then zinc oxide on the top.
Yeah, well, that's pretty close. It'll do. Let's see. Wow! Samurai sandwich.
Samurai sandwich. Okay.
Anyway,
so
now that that's out of the way, back to business.
So much for the comedy part of our comedy show. Let's try a few new twists here on Chef's Corner.
Now, back to the serious side of the business.
Yeah.
Once we have the material with the base stock and the zinc oxide coating and the sensitizing dye and all that comes in rolls and it's installed in a machine, and we want to make a master from that.
Yes.
Okay, so all we do is take an original.
Okay.
Okay.
This is an original, like
Now we
any
take an
original that we would use on any copier or duplicator.
I'll show you how that works in a minute. But first let me say this works exactly like you see it here. In the machine itself, there's a negative corona and a positive corona. Now, these are high voltage devices, much like you would find in a television.
Okay.
Okay, and they emit negative and positive charges. We have negative charge on the top surface or the working surface of the master and a positive charge on the bottom. And what do you know about unlike charges?
Well, they attract each other,
They
obviously.
attract each other. And they would attract and get together if it weren't for the sensitizing dye that we put in here.
Ah, okay.
That only works when we turn on the exposure lights and allows the material to become photoconductive.
So what you're saying to me is as we pass the master material, which has a sandwich on it now, through the coronas, it charges both sides of the piece of paper.
Is that what I said?
The master. I thought so.
Well, then it must be right. Okay. Anyway, yes, that's what I said.
Okay, passes it through, it charges the bottom side positively and the top side negatively.
Right.
Okay, then what happens?
You got it. You're not as dumb as I thought you were.
I know it, I know it. I've been making great progress.
Now we have another chart here.
Okay.
This box represents a typical electrostatic master maker.
Such
camera.
as, can you give me a number?
Such as a 163 or a 171.
Okay.
Okay. Inside the box there is a mirror, this device here, and there's also a lens.
Yes.
And there is a vacuum board over here that holds your master stock. Picture a roll of material in here being unrolled and cut off to the length you require down here and held here in position.
Yep.
Okay, now our original would go right up on top here on top of the exposure glass.
So as if I were making a copy, I place my original on the exposure glass.
Right. That image is reflected in the mirror and then focused through the lens onto the master material right here.
Okay, now this is...
When we turn on the exposure lights.
And this has been charged, the plate itself, or the master has been charged.
Already has this negative and positive charge on it over here.
And then what happens?
Okay, now if you look at the original here, you would see that there's black and white on it, or various colors, right?
Right.
Okay, the non-image areas, or the blank areas of the master here, would reflect light. And the non-image areas will absorb light. So only the non-image areas reflect light.
Okay.
Okay. That reflected light on the master over here allows the two charges to get together here, leaving only the area that had the image with the charges, with the negative charges of it.
So in other words, the reflected light does something to that coating.
It makes this
those charges
photoconductive.
Ah, okay. And so therefore it is ready to accept another charge or another material, such as toner, for instance.
You got it.
Okay.
Now, so we only have the areas that had image on the master or on the original. Those are the only areas that will have a remaining negative charge on the surface here.
Okay, so the non-image area of the master or the original disperses the charge on the plate itself, and therefore the only remaining charged area, I guess this is the whole crux of the whole thing, the only remaining charged area is the image area.
Right.
Black or the color or whatever it happens to be.
You got it.
Okay. What's
now,
the next step?
The next step is, we flip this one back up here, down at the bottom we have a developer tank. Now the developer tank has inside of it a liquid that is positively charged. This is negatively charged. That's called toner.
The toner is in the developer tank, and that's
positively charged.
Positively charged. Okay.
Now, it's not positively charged by zapping it with electricity or corona. It's positively charged by a chemical interaction of mixing two chemicals together.
Okay.
Okay, so when this material will pass through the tank here, goes into a bath of toner.
Takes a toner bath?
Takes a toner bath.
I've taken a bath many times. Yes.
Right all there. Those kinds of things. Yes.
Okay.
Now, the negative charges on the surface of this master attract to the positively charged toner particles in here.
Oh, I get it now. I get it now.
Negative to positive.
So that the charges left on the master, which are the image area, the black, if you will, now are attracted to the positively charged toner particles.
Right.
Bingo.
Those positively charged toner particles are basically carbon particles in a suspension.
Yes.
And so those toner particles seal off the surface of your master and make it ink receptive.
Unbelievable.
Now you have a master that you can print from.
And it's completely imaged.
Completely imaged.
And you don't have to fuse it or anything.
You don't have to fuse it. All you have to do now is, once it comes out of the tank, is you have to dry it.
Yes.
It's dried by air, and it's ready to go.
So therefore, it is now imaged with this original copy. And what do we do to it then?
What do we do to it then? Well, if we were to take it then just like that and put it on the press, on a duplicator, the whole surface would ink up.
Because?
Because it has come out of an oily bath, and oil is ink receptive.
Yes, it is.
So we have to do something to it. We have to convert it.
Convert it.
Yes.
Okay.
We have to put it through a conversion solution.
Which then makes the non-image area
water receptive, and the ink area, or the image area, ink receptive.
Hydrophilic and hydrophobic.
You got it.
Okay. All right.
I could never remember those two.
Yes, well, I couldn't either, but we'll write that down. Does that do it for electrostatic?
That about does it for electrostatic masters. Of course, in the book is all the information. Now, we have one type, which you had over there originally.
The sandwich type.
Which is the type that you would use in a 163, a 171, a 153, a 1600, a 1700, or any of those devices.
Yes.
That's the material, and that's called our 6-1600 series.
Okay.
Right.
Like we were with our Paper Masters, we have
6-1600, 6-1609 is 9 inches wide, for example. 6-1610 is 10 inches wide, and so on and so on.
Okay.
And to use that, there is a toner that's recommended for that. That's
And
a
that
4-3792 toner.
Okay. All right.
Now,
so you have to use special toner with special.
That goes in the
separate
tank.
masters.
Yes. Now,
okay.
different parts of the country use different mixtures of the toner.
They do.
And we will talk about that in greater detail on another program.
Okay.
But suffice it to say now that the people should be guided by the technical department in the particular
Setting
location.
that up correctly.
Yes.
And again, the Offset Supplies book
Has the
will
recommended supplies.
give them to you.
Right.
What about the another kind that you would use?
Well, there is one other kind, that is the 2-9000 series, and that's for our new model, the 155.
Ah, yes.
And that has its own special toner. That also comes in different widths, 10, 11, and 12, or 9, 10, 11, and 12.
I see, yeah. Okay.
But that is 2-9000 series.
Okay, great.
And that has its own special toner also.
Okay, so they have to be aware of that too.
Right.
All right.
That's a 4-3794. All these product
A lot
numbers.
of numbers. A lot of numbers. Can't remember them all, can you?
No.
That's why I use the books. Okay. Well, that's it for this this session then of Chef's Corner.
We will be back.
And we will be back.
We hope you'll join us then.
Yep. Thank you. Welcome to the next edition of Chef's Corner. I'm Dick Pither, and of course, beside me, the now world-famous king of cuisine, Kevin Levin. How are you today, Chef?
Hi, Dick. How are you?
We're having a little bit of the bubbly here today.
It's very good stuff, don't you think?
Well, it is. It tastes exceptionally good. A fine bouquet. What is this, anyway?
That's dandelion wine.
Dandelion wine.
Yeah.
Where did we
New
pick this
crop from my backyard.
up? Oh, yes?
Yep.
Excellent, excellent. This was July, I believe.
July, yes. July 81.
Very good. Well, of course, again, this is a cooking show, so somehow we have to tie cooking into this each week. And so today we're drinking. Hey, what the heck. What are we talking about today?
Right here, we're talking about metal plates.
Metal plates. This is the next in our series of masters and plates, and we're going to talk about how to make them and what they do and what they do for us and the applications and the benefits and so on. Where do we start?
Right down here in the corner, you see. 2-7024.
The number. What is it?
2-7000 series and 2-8000 series.
Those are the
Two different kinds of plates.
Okay.
And the primary difference is, of course, length of run.
Which we will talk about in a little while.
Well, we can talk about it right now. If you
Why
like.
don't we talk about
Yes.
it right now?
7000 series has a guaranteed run length of 15,000 copies, and the 8000 series has a guaranteed run length of 25,000 copies.
Fantastic. All right. Where do we go from there?
Where do we go from there?
We're going to make one.
Well, now, first of all, you see what the plate looks like over here. And you can see that it is a very durable kind of material.
This is, in fact, metal.
It is
And so-
aluminum. Aluminum.
And so for that reason, we call it a plate, not a master.
Right.
Okay, so here we are into the actual metal plate. Let me ask some questions. How would I know which side is the correct side?
Well, either one is correct. It's usable on both sides. It is capable of holding an image on both sides. As a matter of fact, in the interest of economy, if you were to do letterheads, for example, you could put one image on over here. You could put another image on over here, and turn it over and do the same on the other side.
Because you can store them and use them again and again.
Right, absolutely. However, there is a front and a back to it. And usually the front side is the side where you can read the A.B. Dick trademark.
Oh, I see.
Patent.
It's way down here in the corner.
Yeah.
Little tiny imprint that says A.B. Dick. And
Right.
if it's right reading, you can read it correctly. That means that that is the preferred side.
Right, that is the preferred side, and if you're only going to use one side, that's the side
That's
you
the
should
one to
use.
use. Okay. Now, the next question, I guess, is they are light sensitive. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed they are light sensitive and shouldn't be left out in room light for more than a couple of minutes.
Okay.
They wouldn't accept an image thereafter.
Okay, so you have to keep them in the box, and it's a line type.
Right, and it should be, they should be used in a subdued light.
Okay.
We'll talk about imaging them in a few moments and the different kinds of devices that you can use to image those. But first we must talk about getting ready to image them.
Okay, and again, when we're talking metal plate, why would we be using a metal plate in the first place? What kinds of applications are we talking about, basically?
High quality.
Very high quality.
Very high quality, the highest you can possibly get. and length of run.
And extremely long lengths of run.
Right. And then, of course, the latitude of inks you can use on there. Any color ink, rubber base, varnish base, any kind of ink that you want to use on there.
Okay, so this is the top of the line of the plates and masters.
Yes.
And again, we'll give you the quality and length of run that is at that end also.
Right.
All right, so if we're going to put an image onto this thing, and we've talked in other shows about imaging paper masters and e-stat masters and photomat, how do we image a metal plate?
Very simply.
Very simply, I hope so.
No, it is a little more complex than imaging a paper master, as you will see as we go along. First of all, you must take your original or your artwork and have a photographic negative made from it. And I brought along a sample here so I could show you what that looks like.
This is a negative.
A negative just like you would get from black and white film, and you probably put it up there, and I don't know if the camera can see that or not, but however, it's exactly identical to a negative you would get from a roll of black and white pictures that you took in your home camera.
Okay, now how do we get a negative from an original in the first place? I don't want to get into that in depth, but basically, how do I arrive at this negative?
Okay, in your print shop you should have a device, or you can send it out to somebody who has a device called a process camera. And this is one of those large devices with the big bellows, and the artwork goes on way out here in front. And in the back end you put a piece of lithographic film. And you expose it for whatever the required length of time is, and then you process it with developer and then stop bath and fixer, just like you would in photographic film. Okay, so it ties in like we were talking about in our photomat show about how we get a photomat image on a plate, and that is pretty much like the photographic process we're talking about here. Right, exactly. Okay. So I get this either making it myself or from an outside service that makes negatives for me, and it arrives back in my hands on my table, and I'm ready to do something with it. You're ready to do something. What am I ready to do? Well, you're ready to mask it up and prepare it for... Mask it up? Mask it up. What is this, a Lone Ranger? Well, now, pretend that we have a light table here, and one of the first things that you might want to do with this is to turn it over so that the reading is reversed over here. Put it on your light table and look at it. And see if there are any tiny pinholes or any imperfections in the negative, for example. What would they be caused by? Pinholes in negatives come from processing, come from dirt on the lens and the camera, and so on. But in essence, they're like little holes where you don't want them. Right. In a solid area or something like that. And if you can see through them, they will image your plate and would then consequently pick up ink and print. So you don't want any of those pinholes. All right, so we want to get rid of the pinholes. How do we get rid of them? We have a thing here called opaque. Opaque. Let's put that down right here. Opaque. And a little brush. And a little tiny brush. And in essence, what are you asking me to do? In essence, what I'm asking you to do then is to take the cap off this thing, and it looks like a yellow gooey thing. Don't spill it out there. It makes a mess. And then you dip your little brush in it like so. Yeah, like this. Like so. Okay. And cover all the tiny little pinholes or things that you want to remove. You can also use this for erasing. Let's say you have a word or a line or something that you want to erase. I see. So you can use that to cover up that area. I see some pinholes here. Okay. Oh, that'll do it for that. So in other words, this is like painting over the imperfections. Yes, it is. It's cleaning up the negative in the first place. So that's called opaque, huh? Right. That's why they call it opaque, because it's probably opaque. They call it opaque. Yes. You got it. All right. What do we do with these? Well, we put those away for now. What's next? Now that we've opaqued our negative. Now you want to flip it over so it's right reading. Flip it over on your light table. Now pretend that this is a light table, okay? This would be like underneath here. Yes. Okay. I've got it on my light table. Now you want to make sure that it's square on the light table, and you would use the T-square that comes with your light table to do that, to make sure that your lines are straight and all. And then we might take a little piece of masking tape and tape it down on the corner so that it doesn't move around. Interesting. Like so. Now why are we taking all the trouble to square it up here even before it's on the plate? That makes it much simpler later on to square it on the plate. Ah, and when you're printing, so the registration and so on are correct. Right. Okay. So we've taped it down, and now what do we do? Now you take one of these. This is called a masking sheet. A masking sheet. This is where the Lone Ranger comes in. Right. Oh, Tonto. All right, a masking sheet. Notice that it's that it's graded in 1/4-inch squares, and so it's very easy to line it up and make sure that everything is square and that you have proper margins on the left and on the right and top to bottom and so on.
So in other words, this is the size of the plate itself?
This would be the size of an 1117 plate.
Okay,
That's the size of a 360 plate.
Okay, I see.
I didn't want to bring in the 375 because they're a little larger to work with.
Okay. So, in essence, what this is going to do then is going to help me to get it centered when I actually make the image.
Right.
Okay. Now, what do we do with these?
If this were a light table and you put it down over here, allowing room for the margin and allowing positioning, you would be able to see through the negative and see through this.
Right.
So you can square it and make sure that it's taped in the proper position. So pretend again that we have a light table, and then you might want to tack that down with a further piece of masking tape like this, one little piece on either corner.
Real art to this.
Yes, indeed. Now, one more thing, then you would be able to see your image from the negative projected through right here. And then you can outline your negative, for example, somewhat like that.
Why would I want to do that?
You only want to show just exactly what you want to print. You don't want to have edges and so on.
Okay, so in other words, I wouldn't just slap the negative on here because then I'd get lines all the way along the outside of my plate and so on.
Right.
So we're masking out everything that we don't want.
Other than the image. Remember, this is a light-sensitive plate.
Okay. All right. So now we've outlined it, what we want to have printed, and what do we do?
Right. Now you want to take this piece out, and you would do that by putting a piece of cardboard or something underneath here between the negative and the masking sheet.
Between the negative and the masking sheet.
Right, between the two, so you don't cut the negative.
You don't want to cut the negative.
No, don't cut the negative. And now you would take something like an X-Acto knife and cut all the way around these things here that you've done. Now, and if this were real sharp here, we would be able to get all of these out here. Okay? Somewhat like that.
They don't call you the king of cuisine for nothing.
Oh, no. Lots of practice with the old knife here.
Yes, I think I'll get my fingers right.
Fine cutlery is an art.
Cutlery.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in a salami shop or something? Is that, I've seen this technique before.
Now.
Oh, this is it.
You see how your piece comes out. Now.
Yeah, now we take
somewhat like that.
We take out the paper and bingo.
Now, that is not exactly matched to this negative because I couldn't see through. I'm not working in a light table, so I'm pretending.
Kidding.
Okay.
Sure.
But here, I will show you one that is properly masked, and here we go.
Let's put it up on our little light table here. And I think I'll turn it this way. And you can see that only that which we want to print is exposed through the cutout, but now it's masked and it's square.
Right.
As to where we're going to position it on the plate.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. That's really a neat idea. Okay, so we've now prepared and we've opaqued so that this thing is actually ready to be imaged. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now where do we go from here?
Now, where do you go from here? Then you would take a metal plate like so.
Okay.
Now, this is the same size plate as that one, so that we're consistent here. Okay. You would put the two together like so, lining them up the edges with the little holes on the side over here, and lining the top up with the top. You got that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What are you saying to me?
Top to top, and the hole, the line by the hole to the edge.
Oh, I see.
For lining
I don't know if we can get in close enough on that.
That's all right. You don't have to.
But there's a little hole up here on the side that you want to line up with the side of your plate, and then, of course, the top across.
The important thing is that this mask covers all the non-image area.
Okay, of the plate itself.
Right. Because it is light sensitive and when we expose it. Now we would put this into a vacuum frame exposure unit, a device like a Newark or a Berkey or the ABDIC 107 or whatever. I don't know if we're still selling 107s or...
Well, but the point is what you're trying to do, you're now going to expose the negative to the surface of this plate.
Right, and it's a very intense light source like a mercury vapor lamp or a carbon arc lamp or a pulsed xenon or something like that, high intensity light that is going to expose that.
And now how long do I...
Now, here's the key to that. You must determine the correct exposure. And here we have a Stouffer's 21-step grayscale.
A Stouffer's?
A Stauffer 21-step grayscale.
Stauffer makes fine food. I think we can show it against our little kitchen towel here.
Yeah, you might be able to do that.
That's a Stauffer 21-step grayscale.
Right.
And what do I do with this?
Well, we would expose just that on a metal plate and then develop the image with desensitizer and lacquer, and you would be looking for a solid step 6 on here.
Solid step 6, so a complete black. on step number 6. And
Right.
then you know that you've got your exposure time correct.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. So let's say we've got our exposure
Let's
time.
say we've got our exposure time in, and some of the units it's a minute, some it's 45 seconds, and so on. And
You put this like putting it in the oven, in essence.
right, and the microwave for
Yes,
45
put it on
seconds.
for 45 seconds.
So assume that we've exposed this to light. Then the next step is to desensitize it in lacquer. Remember,
This is the fun part.
it is a light-sensitive surface,
Yep.
and the exposure lamp is going to go through here only in the image areas. So the non-image area is still going to be sensitive
Sensitive to light.
to light. So we
Okay.
have to desensitize it, and we have a solution that does that.
Well, let's do it.
So I've taken the liberty of exposing this,
All right.
and you can process it for me.
I would love to.
Here's how you will
Would I love
process.
to? Yes.
Very simply.
Very simple.
Now, normally one would do this on a stainless steel processing sink or on a piece of newspaper or something like that.
Right.
But you would put it down there so it wouldn't move around.
You don't want to touch this in the middle, do you?
Try not to.
You want to hold
Try
it by
not
the
to,
edges.
yes.
Okay.
And-
As with any photograph or whatever. All right. The first ingredient here, all right, is offset desensitizer.
You read it correctly.
I've done it upside down, too.
Yes.
Look at that. It does what it says it does. You're saying that the non-exposed part of this plate, now after
Right.
we put it through the processor, is still sensitive to light, but we want to stop that, right? We can't let that go on.
Right, it won't be much longer if you keep fooling around
All
here.
right. So what do we do to do that? But
You take a couple of
One
little
way to make a living.
take a couple of little
Yes.
cotton pads and roll them up like this, see? Okay, just roll them up like that. Put them inside 2 more cotton pads like that, and you now have a nice little
Well,
pad
that's
to rub on
interesting.
your desensitizer
Let me
with.
see that. Can you smoke that? I suppose.
No.
No, you can't. You said to me, now what did you say? You said roll up 1 cotton pad,
Right.
like a little
Right.
thing there, then take 2 more
Uh-huh.
and put it
Just
around
wrap
there.
it around there.
And now you've got a little.
Yes, flatten it out there.
That's
okay?
nice.
Right.
You know, wipe your face with that. You can do a lot.
Right.
Okay.
Now, you would take a little dab of this, maybe a half an ounce or maybe an ounce of stuff here, and put it on your plate like this. This is desensitizer. And that ought to about do it, just
Look
about
at
that
that.
much. You
Now
could
what do
measure
I
it if
do?
you wanted to, but it isn't necessary.
You just sort of want to get enough to
Now,
cover the whole plate.
You want to wipe it from side to side. Never use a circular or
Side to
figure 8
side?
motion. Side to side or vertically or horizontally.
Okay, so
Wipe over the entire thing.
I'll wipe over the edges,
Uh-huh.
side to side, but never circular.
Never circular or figure 8s.
Figure 8s. I'd be prone to do 7s, maybe 6s.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is actually then taking all of the sensitivity out of that plate.
It is now no longer
Right.
light sensitive.
All right, so it sort of stopped. the action.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right, now what do we do?
One more ingredient now, because the image you can't see at this point in time.
Can't see a thing.
And you will see it when we add the lacquer.
This is offset lacquer. Why do we call it lacquer?
Okay, it's going to put a coating on there, a bright red coating on there, which is going to make the image visible, and is also going to do something else for you. It's going to give you length of run. This plate could actually be run on an offset duplicator right now. But you would
see
not,
much.
you will see the image
Oh, you will?
when the ink formulas are applied to it.
I see.
And it would produce copy, but would not give you the length of run. This lacquer serves to make the image visible. It gives you a nice way of checking the plate to make sure that everything is correct, but it also gives you length of run.
Okay.
Now,
So how do I do the lacquer now?
well, the same thing you did with the cotton pad, you can do with the lacquer if you can get the cap off.
Well, you know, in every kitchen, you're going to find some bottles that just plain don't open. You want to do that
Really?
while I make what we're making?
See, it's very simple.
Oh, I loosened it for you.
Yeah.
We're making a little square this time out of the cotton pad,
Yes,
right? You're
indeed.
folding it into quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Something like that, that's
Something
fine.
like that. All right, now what?
Now you put a little dab in here, maybe about the size of a quarter or so.
Size of a quarter. All right.
That'll do it. Nice
Black-
bright color, isn't it?
Smells good,
Good,
too.
yeah. Almost as
Now
good as
what
the
do I
wine.
do?
Now, you wipe that the same way you did the desensitizer.
With this thing?
Side to side
Side to
motion or
side.
vertical. Vertical or
Right.
horizontal.
All right,
Whatever.
Just like this, huh?
Yes. Don't allow your metal plate to get dry at any time.
Like I just did.
Yes, if you do, then it becomes difficult to lacquer and gets
Boy,
a little
that's
sticky
no
and soft.
lie.
But I think we can see the image developing here, right?
Oh, definitely.
All right.
Of course, we're under studio lights here.
Right.
It's very hot in here.
So I completed one over here so that you could show what the finished results like, so you don't have to go through all that process over there. But
is
you can see how simple it is.
Oh, yeah.
Nice, fast, light motion, without a lot of
I think we
fanfare,
better
you know?
remind everybody that it's about 116 degrees in here, so
Yes,
it did
it is.
dry up very quickly. But that's what a finished plate would look like after the lacquer had been applied.
Right.
Okay.
No, there's no spots, nothing other than the image that you want to reproduce.
We don't see any pinholes. We don't see any of the background stuff that we wouldn't want. You're right. And it looks good. It's square. It's set up correctly. So what do we do now?
What do we do now?
Yeah.
Well, assuming that we're going to run this plate on a duplicator in the very near future, it's not necessary to do anything except to go right to the duplicator.
Okay.
But assuming that we might want to save this for a few days or something, there is another solution that we have for you here, and that's
wonderful.
plate gum.
Plate gum.
Right. We would mix this half gum and half water.
Yes.
And
Can't chew this.
again, the cotton pad, and gently coat the whole thing with that.
Okay, and what does plate gum do?
It preserves the image and prevents oxidation of the plate.
Okay.
So if you were to store this for a month or 6 months or whatever, then all you would have to do when you want to actually run the copies would be to wipe off the plate gum with a cotton pad dampened with water.
Ah, I see. Okay.
And you'd have a perfect plate.
Fantastic.
So it allows you to store your plates better than any other of the plates that we talked about before, masters.
Beautiful.
Okay?
All right. So, in essence now, we have made a metal plate and it's ready to be run.
That's right.
Or stored with using the gum. Now, let's review here. Let me see if I've got this down in terms of what you have told me. The first thing we do, of course, is to get ourselves our original and make or have made a negative.
Right.
Which is a photographic negative made on a process camera. And then we take that negative, we opaque it to get out all the imperfections that may have been on there, and then we mask it with a masking sheet that is the same size as the plate that we're going to run. And there are different size plates, of course, for different sized systems. Once that has been masked and we have cut out only the image area, we then expose it to a plate using an exposure unit and the high intensity light, which then reacts with the coating on the metal plate, which is light sensitive, and it images that plate. Now, because this is light sensitive and nothing has stopped it from being light sensitive, it still is, at that given point in time, when it's still blank, receptive to light. And if we left it out, it would ruin the plate eventually. So the first thing we have to do is to stop that, and for that we take our rolled up stogie here, and we wipe across, or vertically or horizontally, with desensitizer.
Yes.
Stops the process.
You could also use a sponge for doing that too, and we actually sell these things. So you could use a sponge for applying your chemicals, a dampened sponge, and you would dampen it with desensitizer. So whichever one you find more convenient, the cotton pad or the sponge is okay.
Okay, 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Right.
After I have desensitized my metal plate, I want to bring the image up. I wouldn't have to because it would still run, but it wouldn't give me the length of run, as you said, that I might want. So I take then this solution, the lacquer, offset lacquer, with using a drop of it about the size of a quarter, and rolling up, or a pad, or whatever I have, I go across the plate and bring up the image. And I can check it, I can look at it, I can make sure that it's correct.
Right.
And it is then going to give me longer length of run, off to the offset duplicator, the 375, whatever, and run the material. When I'm done and I've run down the plate, I can store this plate by coating it with plate gum, or offset gum, which you just wipe on, store the plate, and wash it off with water.
All right.
And that's the whole cycle.
That's the whole cycle.
That's pretty simple. And boy, the quality and the length of run you get out of metal is akin to nothing. I mean, that is the ultimate in quality, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's also the very simplest process for a beginner to learn with, because there are so few things you can do to damage the plate.
Yes.
I mean, you can make all the mistakes you could possibly think of in running the duplicator. You can ink the entire thing, yet you can clean it again and still run beautiful copies from it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a very simple plate to operate with once it's been processed.
Okay.
A couple of things that I might want to mention, that sometimes if you expose this with the negative and you take it to the plate processing sink, and you might have stopped along the way and talked to somebody and you've forgotten which side you had the image on, but you can't really see it, you can just breathe on it, and you will see the image instantly, just for an instant. You can just go, and it just makes the image appear.
Yeah, I understand.
Especially if you've had a little wine.
Yes, that dandelion wine will do it. Okay.
Also, if you're going to use both sides of the plates, you should image them all at the same time.
Not wait.
Not wait, and you can't process one and then go back and image the other side of it. You must image both sides at one time. And if you were to do that, then you would be advised to process it, say, on some newspaper or something that where it sets into the surface and doesn't move around. It would be better to do that than to do it on a stainless steel plate sink where it would move around and maybe scratch the image.
Sure.
So it would be better off to do it that way.
Okay, all right, beautiful.
Again, you can run all kinds of ink with this, any color that you want, rubber base, any kind of ink you want.
Beautiful. We have then, therefore, in our series, covered all 4 types of plates and masters that we use in both A.B. Dick and even outside of A.B. Dick.
I believe so.
In terms of going all the way from the incredible convenience of paper up to the length of run and the high quality of metal, which is absolutely fantastic. So, I guess that about wraps it up here for our 4th edition.
Just remember, not too much desensitizer, not too much lacquer. Save the lacquer. You can put it on a Ritz cracker, and here you can make a pizza out of it and have it in your hand.
Well, that about wraps it up for Chef's Corner.
We'll get Dick cleaned up for another edition. We'll see you then.
Thanks for being with us.